We are harvesting citrus. We're harvesting today lemons and grapefruit and Seville orange. Working with UN refugees from Africa, Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America.
Usually the one below, you don't find fruits because the owners usually eat the ones below. Then the ones higher is the one we get because usually it's hard for the owners to pick from the bottom, from the top.
So Ishkashita means working cooperatively together, which is a local organization working in southern Arizona to really capture the backyard bounty that is so often overlooked, not only in southern Arizona, but all across the US. In fact, with all the calculations of food waste, backyard garden, and backyard edible trees have not been calculated as part of that food waste. So this is our sign-in sheet. We need a volunteer waiver from you. And then right now we're harvesting about 5,000 pounds a week. That goes to organizations that are also providing food to the community. So food banks, soup kitchens, shelters, and schools. Then we also work with Market on the Move that brings out the food out to rural areas, and the Pascua Yaqui tribe and the San Carlos Apache bring the food to them on the reservation from Ishkashita.
One of the things I do is put up some of the asylum seekers. So Richard, who's harvesting with us today, has lived with me now for 7 months, almost 8. Richard started harvesting with us before he'd even been here for 24 hours. He's the 3rd asylum seeker from Africa that has lived with me. I've been reading the politics and learning the politics of Uganda since Richard's been with me, and the situation there is devastating. He's a Baptist minister and was under threat of his life. He is so thankful to be here, even though his wife and 4 kids are still in Uganda. So many people have citrus trees and they just don't begin to use it all. You can't use all the grapefruit from a grapefruit tree or lemons and so it just would go to waste. And so food waste and then the refugee needs in the community. And to put those together into a project I thought was amazingly creative.
We want to encourage people to use the food that's growing here. We've invested decades worth of water, land, and love into these trees. There's a tree at St. Mary's about to turn 100. There's a tree at the Tucson Botanical Gardens, which we work with, is about to reach 100 years old.
I absolutely want to hug every tree I see.
You do?
Absolutely. I want to hug a tree. I want to make sure that I'm giving the proper homage to good Mother Earth. A tree cools our environment. Her roots and her fingers reach deep into the earth and pulls all of those nutrients into those fruits and vegetables. So it's not just sustenance, but it's also nourishment and nutrients coming back into our body. And we keep repeating this cyclical process with planting. Spaces of opportunity, it's a vacant lot that has been turned into a space that can speak to our different avenues and our different interests, whether it's from a supply chain business perspective, or whether it's from a I need to get healthier perspective, or from an environmental, man, this is cool because it's a cooler place. It's literally more trees and more plants and more oxygen in the air. So it's an environmentally better place.
where you put the ball?
It's Latin, it's folks from Iraq, it's folks from Africa, it's folks from the hyper-local community. That's Spaces. And if you plant this in your yard, they're so invasive. However, this is just a fully blown castor bean, okay. Right? And she's... Did I plant here? Yes, I plant here every week. I'm one of the farmers. I not only planted seed here, but I constantly go out and galvanize and mobilize as my role, my niche, maybe even my special purpose. I go out and I constantly plant and bring people into this conversation, and then they put even more seeds of change into the ground. I love these analogies. And so, yes, I plant here in more ways than one. I want to make sure that not only are we taking care of Mother Earth, but it's the people, though. Part of what we're doing here is called the Resiliency Project. We're working with a group called Trees Matter.
I've heard Darren's tree story about growing up and picking citrus as a kid. I was a tree climber. I loved climbing trees, and I think and I hope that our current generation has that opportunity too, to connect to our trees. And so green spaces in general, you have spaces potentially for the public, but definitely areas that help cool the area. You know, it's cooling the ground throughout the day and providing that shade, while also, you know, when there is stormwater, it helps reduce the amount of runoff. And then with pollution, it helps keep dust down. It helps take out carbon from the air, which is really important, especially with climate change. So the more trees that we can plant, the more that carbon gets absorbed and brought back as oxygen. Lots of our kids that we plant with love to talk about that cycle. So there's just so many amazing benefits. And then if you're, you know, someone that's thinking about property values or the economy, there's a lot of studies that show that it increases property value. And then with mental health, there's a great deal of benefits that trees provide, from reducing anxiety to calming people. And that's something we all need right now.
Dear future me, you have a gift, one you need to share. You're a great chef, but your passion is about more than cooking. It's about life, nourishing it, sustaining it, working with real ingredients grown in a way that takes care of our natural environments. So go get that sustainable foods degree you've been thinking about, because it's time. It's time to really get cooking. Love, me.
Where we're walking at right here would be where the new build is going to be. And so this is our center garden right here, where we have some of the cacti, and we have some kumquats over there, and then we have some natural growing aromath growing, and radishes. Beautiful, huh? So we're raising money currently in order to pay for the plan to be put in place, and which includes the new build in that plan over there as well.
Okay.
All right. All right. I grew up in Los Angeles, and at an early age, my parents became addicted to narcotics, crack cocaine, which landed us on Skid Row, downtown Los Angeles, where we were living in those haunted hotels and on the streets. and we didn't have food, shelter, and financial security. And so as I got older, I noticed that it was generational within my family, and it was something that I didn't want for myself. And so we decided to look for ways to help our family, one, but also help our community members so they wouldn't experience food, housing, and financial insecurities.
From my side, I grew up in Chester, Pennsylvania, and while we were young, my mother was a victim of domestic violence, and so it caused us to lose housing temporarily, spend some time in a shelter for battered women. And so as I grew older, that was something that always stuck with me, and so I always told myself that whenever I bought a house, I never wanted to sell it. I always wanted to try and do something for either single women with parents or battered women or disabled veterans, because I'm also a veteran and also disabled.
The heat island effect is very high over there because of the lack of trees. It's hard spaces, and so we wanted to be able to plant a space, create a space where our clients over there can eat from the trees, have shade, have shelter, save money on their energy bills, save money on their food bills. And so we believe as we plant more trees, we can cool down this desert right here.
I think one of the most important things you can do in life is define what your purpose is. It took me 43 years to be able to take something that traumatized me as a young child and turn it into an advantage, not only for me, not only for my wife, not only for my children, my family, my community, and people in general. That's indescribable.
Grapefruit, but we also do pomelos. This year we've harvested more pomelos than any year previous to this. Tangelos, tangerines, lime quants, kumquats. Calamundins is our biggest marmalade seller. We make a whole line of Justice jams that are available through our ISCA shop on our website. Curds to relish, to marmalades, to jellies. All of which, through learning about these foodways from the Middle East to Africa, we learn how to use different parts of the plants that grow here, and we're always redefining what is a food resource through this multicultural lens. And again, trying to encourage people to recognize what food resources are here and how to use them.
What I would recommend is that people from other communities besides the Pima County or in Tucson area look at doing the same thing, is to set up a program, a volunteer program, and so many of us who volunteer are retirees, that harvests the fruit that goes unused and then distributes it to many of the programs. Most communities have some sort of a food bank or a food kitchen or food, a lot of churches have food pantries, and to distribute the food that way. And like I know Barbara told you, it isn't just citrus, although it's citrus season now, but we harvest year round.
Well, I think we have seen that when people ask for things from their policymakers and their politicians, you can bring them here and show them what this looks like. If you have an HOA or you're in your neighborhood, you can start a tree planting event maybe annually. I've done that in my neighborhood. You can always reach out to us at treesmatter.org.
The average person needs to realize, man, that the average person is actually me and it's actually you. That's who the average person is in this narrative. There's no such thing as a prototypical way of doing this. My way versus your way or the highway. Man, this is an open, beautiful narrative, again, that can be very inclusive of what you can bring to the table. So I would like to say to the average person out there just listening to this, bring it. bring it. It's a great way that you can infuse some of the beautiful ways that you're able to be an asset to building your community, and it would be widely accepted from A to Z.
Just like the things that we put in the ground and we water and we fertilize and we cultivate and we take care of, this is that plant, this is that tree for us that we're watering. And I can't wait to see it in full bloom and full blossom, just providing shade and cover and stability to those that need it the most.
I can't follow that up. I can't follow that. Oh my God. Make me want to jump over and give you a kiss. I'm sorry.